Welcome to Pulsar. Pulsar is a massively multiplayer, real-time strategy game in a persistent multiplayer world with randomly generated missions and dungeons built on the Avalanche blockchain. Players control multiple units on player-owned land that they use to mine resources or battle aliens. Resources can be refined and used to buy or trade for other resources, units, or be traded to craft new NFTs. Pulsar is currently in beta, but launches October 18th, 2024, just a few weeks from this video being made. Now, I'm assembling my army here to attack this enemy alien nest to the north of my base. Currently in beta, the aliens aren't attacking player bases, but soon they will be. So this is more of just an example of what's to come. I'm sending my scorpions in here because they're the strongest direct damage. And when you attack the nest, there are 3 waves of enemies that spawn. Every 33% of health that is done to the nest, another wave of creatures spawn. Once the alien nest is killed, biomatter drops from it, and it's the main way to get this resource in game is by killing aliens and extracting the biomatter from their nests. Even killing the aliens grants you minerals, gas, and I believe sometimes biomatter, but the main way is to kill the nest and extract it. A few of my units have already died here. I'm going to need to back these scorpions out. They're getting a little bit overrun. But my spiders in the back and the siege tanks are killing most of the aliens. My team here is a little bit overpowered for what I'm doing, for just as an example. So as you can see, I've killed off the enemy nest and I've killed all the aliens, and now there's 5,000 biomatter units that I would be able to harvest here. So in Pulsar, you're basically the commander of your fleet, and you have 3 tabs that you can control: the Units tab, the Buildings tab, and the Resources tab. As your units are harvesting gas, minerals, and Pulsar, you will have different buildings such as these: the gas refinery, biomatter refinery, mineral refinery, Pulsar refinery. These will be under the Resources tab. As your units are collecting them, they're collecting raw resources. So as you bring them the raw resources back to your mothership, as long as you have those buildings, the refineries, created somewhere on the map, they will automatically refine. As you can see, these bars going across the screen, every single time it completes, a little chunk of your unrefined becomes refined. The higher level your refinery stations are, the more capacity they can carry before you have to collect them. If they get to their cap of capacity, then they stop refining the material. So if you just simply click collect, it will collect what you have currently refined and put the capacity back to 0 so that it can continue refining more. So you can't just set your units to refine and walk away and come back rich. The higher level your refineries are, the less you have to collect it, and something that you have to constantly do throughout the game. And then you also have your Buildings tab, which the Buildings and Unit tab is similar in the sense that they have 3 subcategories. You can construct something new. Now, every single one of these is an NFT on the Avalanche blockchain. So if you don't have any NFTs, you won't actually have any buildings or units to produce. If you have a referral code like the one included in this video, you will get a set of free structures and free units to play for the beta phase, and potentially maybe something new for launch when that time comes, but it has not been announced yet. So you're able to construct new buildings. You can see that there's a power supply cost, a mineral cost, and a gas cost, as well as the amount of time it's going to take to construct that. The power supply is based on your mothership. Your mothership is like your main unit, your main building. And the higher level your mothership is, the higher power output, or the more buildings you can produce. It goes hand in hand with your units. Your units require CPU. The higher level your mothership is, the more CPU you will have to use, the more units you'll be able to create. There are also different rarities. There's common, uncommon, rare, and Genesis at the moment. Genesis being the highest quality, and the higher the quality, the more output you get out of it. So we'll go to the units tab here. From that fight I just did, I lost 3 of my units. You can see a level 9 Scorpion, a level 4 Scorpion, and a level 3 Spider. These were some of my military units. And I can rebuild them for a small mineral cost. Again, the higher level your unit is, the more the cost is going to be to produce them. So we'll go ahead and queue up these 3 units to be rebuilt. And then they come out of your units factory, which I placed mine right over here. So as the units are being built, they come out of the unit factory. And then we'll bring them back over to my other military units here. So now I have no more units I can construct because all of my units, which are NFTs, have been constructed. I don't have any more. If I go to the repair tab, I can see units that are hurt. I can repair them for a small mineral and gas cost. And if you go to the built section, this is basically a summary of all your units. And this is where you gain levels on your units. So every unit has a maximum level of 100. As they perform their duties, they gain experience. Military units have to get the final killing blow on an enemy to gain experience for it. Experience is not shared between units. Whichever unit gets the killing blow is the one that gets all the experience for the kill. And resource, whatever type of resource miner it is, whether it's a resource miner or a pulsar miner, they have to mine to get experience. And you can see if it's flashing, that means it's available to gain a level. I don't want to level this mobile depot for a unique reason, so we'll ignore that for now. But you can see some of my one of my pulsar miners here, which is one of my little resource miners that is mining pulsar, the game's native token or currency. I'm able to level one of these up. At this level, from level 7 to 8, it will require 49 minutes and 33 seconds with 625 minerals and gas. We'll go ahead and initiate that. So when a miner gains a level, their storage capacity is increased and the amount of resources that they harvest per second is also increased. And for the military units, gaining a level increases their health and their damage. Possibly armor too, I'm not sure about that. And it looks like everything's up to date for the most part. So in Pulsar, you're able to do dungeons as many times as you want. Dungeons are just a short instanced combat with basically 3 buffs, a defense buff, a speed buff, and an attack buff. They're optional. They do help you quite significantly, and we'll go into more detail with these in a moment. But you can see there's also a boss. Basically, the only thing you need to do is find the boss and kill the boss.
We'll be there in a moment.
There are obstacles in your path in terms of enemies and also traps, so you do have to pay attention to where you're walking. We'll be able to give an example of this in a moment. So as soon as you cross through this gate here, it will start a 10-minute timer, and that 10-minute timer basically is just, you need to finish it before that in order to get a bonus rewards at the end of the dungeon. Now, also, as soon as you open this gate here or walk through this gate, nobody else will be able to join your game. So if you have friends coming to join you, then you don't want to initiate this gate, otherwise it'll lock them out.
Time to stretch my legs.
So here's a perfect example right here. These are, first of all, these are little pods. As you run by, aliens can pop out of them. You can also destroy them on your own, and then also sometimes aliens pop out of them. So if you're in a higher level dungeon, you're probably going to want to take it slow and destroy these as you go. Because as you can see, sometimes aliens pop out of them. But if you look closely at these little structures here, these are actually little traps. And once you step near them, they will be initiated and they'll explode and do AoE damage to all your units standing in it. So if I were to take one of my spiders here and run up close to it, you'll see that they were triggered and then they explode. So you can't just auto run wherever you want blindly. You'll run through traps and your units will take tons of damage. So you do have to pay attention, be careful where you walk, which I believe is a very good feature. You don't want to just shut your brain off and just do whatever. So we'll progress deeper in here and we'll go get the speed buff, which is directly ahead here. Another thing to look out for are these explosive crates. Now, these are very similar to the traps we just saw. There are basically two differences between them. One difference is these ones do maybe triple the damage. So you do not want to get hit by these. If you just get hit by 2 or 3 of these, your unit will virtually blow up. And your siege tanks are AoE damage. So if you have your units standing near these crates and a bunch of little aliens run up to your units and your siege tank shoots an AoE blast on the unit, it will hit the crate as well. And it'll blow up the crate, and any unit you have, it'll catch you off guard. You won't be ready for it. And it's devastating. So you really need to be careful on your positioning. Something I personally like to do to be very cautious is I keep my spider units at a distance.
Ready to go. Scouting around. Let's leg it. Showing the target.
That's a little bit too close. Let me come back a little bit here. You want your spider units to not be in range of the nest. Oh, this is exploding here. That was a minor explosion. But if you want to be very careful, you want to keep your spiders out of range of the nest. Your spiders are your best unit for killing small amount, like the creeps that come at you, the little aliens. They're the best for killing those. And the scorpions are the best for killing single strong units. So what I like to do is keep the spiders at a distance, get the scorpions up closer, and let the scorpions do the damage. And any enemies that come now, my spiders will just automatically kill them all. Because as you hit the nest, a bunch of enemies are going to come for you. And if your spiders are shooting the nest, they're not going to shoot the enemies coming. So to play as defensively as possible, it's best to leave those spiders out of range of your primary target and let the scorpions do the single target damage. Again, this will make it so all of the aliens that run up to attack you, your spiders will just blow them away before they even get to your units. Now, as you destroy these nests, you get minerals and gas as a reward for any creature that you kill. And when you destroy the nest, you get a different buff. This one was the yellow speed buff. So now all of my units are going to move virtually twice the speed. Once you get the speed buff, you can at this point pretty much outrun those traps we were going over earlier. So we'll go over to the defense buff over here, which is optional. You can see my units are moving about twice the speed. I'm not even really concerned about these aliens that spawn now because they can't even keep up with me. Now, I could just right-click on him and kill him for a little bit extra resource and experience, but I'm not going to worry about that right now.
Time to stretch my legs.
So these crates are going to be very dangerous here. So I'm just going to go ahead and destroy them in advance. You can see one crate can trigger another crate and cause a chain reaction. So again, we're going to take our scorpions, do the same strategy. Just let those spiders kill all the aliens that try to get to my scorpions. Now these guys could be a little bit closer.
Show me the target. Let's leg it.
Oh, I'm getting hit by a trap here. It's fine. It's just a small one. The main ones you need to be concerned about are the explosive crates. They do the most damage. Now these nests, as you kill them, at the moment they are designed that every time you do 33% of their health, the nest gains a shield. You can see it, and then my units stop attacking. I guess that's so that you don't just instantly destroy it super fast if you're overpowered. And at the moment, every nest, there's actually 2 nests stacked on top of each other. And you can actually get the buff twice and it stacks on itself. I'm not sure if that's intended. I think it is. But it's important to kill them both because the buff stacks twice. So now the shield buff here, which is very important if you're in a high level dungeon. You can see all of my units now, they have an extra form of health underneath, and that's their shields now. So you can get this buff twice. If I only got it once, you would see half the value under all these. Now the shield buff is very important, and it's also very powerful. So similar if you've played StarCraft, the Protoss units have a shield and then a health. It's the same concept, except for the shield actually regenerates super fast. So if your unit starts getting low on shields and you take them out of the fight, within like 5 or 6 seconds the shield will be all the way back. So it's very useful in not taking damage for your units.
We'll be there in a moment.
Then we'll go ahead and might as well get the attack buff while we're here.
Scouting around.
Alright, again I want to be careful of these crates. They're potentially one of the most devastating things in the game, are these explosive crates.
Ready to go.
The crates actually damaged the nest, which triggered these enemies. So these scorpions, the way they're designed, the longer they're attacking a unit, their damage builds up over time. You can see the color change of the beam. When it gets purple, it's at full damage. Now this is still beta footage here, so I'm sure there will be a lot of changes. So maybe by the time you watch this video, there may have been some drastic changes. So the attack buff, very straightforward. Let me get out of that. Makes your units do a bit more damage. Just makes the boss fight a little bit easier.
We'll be there in a moment. Target in sight. Scouting around. Time to stretch my legs. Target in sight. Time to stretch
there's a few ways you can fight this boss. You can just bum rush him and do full damage, or you can kite him a bit. He is quite slow, so you can do some damage and back up, do some damage and back up, and he won't actually hit you. He does an AoE swipe attack that actually does a decent amount of damage. My units are a little strong for this level, so I'm just going to go ahead and bum rush him here. When you have all the buffs, the attack buff and the defense buff, he's typically quite easy. But again, right now, I believe we're on level 14 dungeon. The highest level dungeon is 200. So this is still an earlier level dungeon, and my units for this dungeon that I just did here, I would say they were quite overpowered for the level of dungeon I just did. Now, to give a very quick understanding of the levels of dungeons, units in Pulsar are able to go to a maximum level of 100 every unit, and every depth of the dungeon is half a level for the creatures. So at level 14, the dungeon creatures are level 7, and at dungeon depth 200, the enemy creatures are level 100. So my units right now are actually mostly level 10 and 11. So I'm level 10 and 11 in a level 7 area, so you can see that my units were quite overpowered and it was not that difficult for me. And you can run these dungeons as many times as you want to get bonus minerals, gas, and biomatter. And what's important to understand about these three materials that you get here is that these are already refined. You do not need to refine these. I didn't get the time bonus. That's because I was making this video and I was taking my time and going quite slow. Typically, I would finish a dungeon in 5 or 6 minutes and have 4 or 5 minutes left over for the extra time bonus. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give a follow to see future videos coming, giving great tips and tricks for maximizing your gameplay. Feel free to leave a comment in the video as well, as it really helps the channel grow. Be sure to check out the video description for a link to my referral code and the game's website to get you a nice boosted head start. Until next time, stay safe out there, new fleet commanders.